Hey everyone, very good evening to you all. Charles here, FORIGN's daily chart analysis. The time just approaching 20 minutes to 10 local time here in Milan. Today, a very quiet day in the office, it must be said. Absolutely no positions taken. Just rolling through the charts now to see what I potentially may or may have not missed. On my radar today, must admit, was a US dollar CAD short. This was posted this morning as well to those in further mastery. And really, the plan was set. Once the setup is confirmed, of course, the only thing that remains really is your entry criteria. We saw sort of part of the setup here on US dollar CAD. It looked okay. Again, it wasn't the best looking setup, but there wasn't too much to choose from, to be quite honest. So was focusing on US dollar CAD this morning. As a result of that 15-minute time frame, we saw a slight shift in sentiment here as a result of this push from this area. Looking to locate where that push came from that broke, I would say, insignificant structure points, but certainly on the way up on the lower time frames, you would definitely be able to identify that this push here in the market did definitely break some structure points towards the left-hand side. Then coming back up, can we isolate that 15-minute order block that gave us that break of structure to the left? Yes, we could. 15-minute order block sat there right above Asia, was looking quite good as a confluence for an Asia range short as well. But regardless of that, an Asia range type of position is quite aggressive. Therefore, was I really willing just to wait for a 1 minute break of structure before looking to take a short position with all the fundamentals as well as the technicals that is going on in the markets today? Absolutely not, based on the fact, or really couldn't really, I'll be honest, preempt a clear directional bias for the DXY. So therefore, the clear plan was set. Either I'll be looking to take this as an aggressive break of structure from this area, or be it a much better position highlighted with the comment best, a full break of structure in my opinion, before looking for price to return, before looking for that short position. It wasn't to be, so I moved on. No alerts were triggered. I mean, in the morning we had this wick below, but really I did want to see a 15-minute candle close below that area to give me that incentive to really look for price to return back before looking for potential entry criteria for the short. So as I said, that wasn't to be. Just a quick recap in the market. My thought process this morning was really trying to understand what the DXY was looking to do. In the morning, we had understood that we were trading within that daily range. That's very clear to see as price starts to roll on, just really tickling the bottoms or the lows, as I should say, working its way back up to the high. And of course, I always like to give myself that second option. Well, if you're incorrect, Charles, what else could this be? We had that break of structure out of the range, confirmed really, in my opinion, from that 4 hour time frame. So looking to isolate a 4 hour order block that essentially created that push low of that range. We're seeing if then once we refine that 4 hour down, as I zoom in here, you can see that 4 hour order block before that bearish 4 hour candle closure. Highlighted that, looked to refine it down, was just trying to understand whether when London opened, whether or not we'd seek to respect that refined area and have that move down to the downside. With that said, we were, of course, looking into a bit of a conflicting area based on that 4 hour 50 MA anyway. I mean, price had tried to push above. The fact of the matter is it closed below, so definitely was confluence there for a short position. However, I believe that could have been short-lived anyway as we start to run into that daily 50 MA to push price higher. What I can see now, of course, towards the end of the day, it looks as if we are just manipulating the lows of the range as we seemingly always see, to be honest. Quite surprised that it's happened on the 4 hour. It's not just a wick below that 4 hour range, but we have had those 4 hour candle closures. So certainly tomorrow morning, as we can see, we certainly wicked into that 4 hour order block that, in my third opinion, looking to see if here was the push that took price down, come up into the area before looking for the short. So a little bit late to the party. I must admit, around about 3 o'clock, I certainly wasn't up at the charts at that time, to be fair, to have a look at the cross pairs to see if there was any DXY weakness to come out of that 4 hour order block, retesting that weekly 50 MA. As you can see, last week, top right hand corner, we tested that weekly 50 MA nicely, rejecting it to the downside, leaving us at nice wick imbalance to the highs. So hopefully towards the end of the week, we'll look to retest that weekly 50 MA, potentially into that wick imbalance. As you'll become familiar with the way I break my charts down, wick imbalance mean an incredible amount to me. They definitely, when they're a wick of that size, of course, it is indicating a lot of sell liquidity lying there. For whatever reason, price is failing to close above a particular area in the market, so I have a good inclination that price may want to look to retest those wick highs towards the end of the week before looking for that short down on the DXY, rejecting that weekly 50 MA. So that's kind of the overall bias at the moment. As I scroll through the charts, I know GCAD had a bit of an opportunity, one for myself. To be fair, I'm very familiar with taking sell limits. Here certainly would have been a half decent sell limit area, but being honest, I wouldn't have taken it. I've just put this on just to see what risk to reward ratio could have been taken out of the market. But when I see a couple of areas like that in the market, I am very reluctant to place just a sell limit from those highs. You can absolutely see why it would make sense. 4 hour order block that gave us that push to the downside, price return, refine that order block down. Here we are, 15-minute order block, very much so available. Price tapped in and off it went for a nice 1 to 3 risk to reward ratio, if I can get my words out. With that said, as I've mentioned, very unlikely for that. I would have looked to have taken that as a sell limit, so I'd much prefer how price has now broken those structure areas. Asia to the lows is still available. It's just a bit of a shame that I don't trade through the Asia period, or else I would be looking to short this at any other given time. We've got that break. Asia's available, as I said, 15-minute break of structure, leaving a 15-minute order block behind. It's looking great for a nice short position now, to be quite honest. That's my type of good looking setup. I like the way GCAD looks, but as I said, I won't be taking that now. If I'd have had that during the trading session, then absolutely I would definitely be looking to take that position short. So GCAD was looking good as well for the day. We'll have to see how that materializes overnight. Potentially look at a position tomorrow. Let's see how price develops. UJ, of course, as a result of that bullish pressure coming out of the DXY, US dollar JPY, which to be honest wasn't a favorite to be looking to go short, recognizing that the DXY strength, regardless of us being in that higher time frame point of interest, too short. Does it make sense based on what the technicals and fundamentals are giving us coming out of the DXY? If the DXY would have given us signs of that bearish momentum that I was kind of leaning towards, then absolutely a short position would have made sense. But as you can see, no type of entry criteria there at all. Even in terms of the best worst case scenario, could we break a structure point that was developed in Asia? Negative to that, we couldn't get a break, couldn't get a pullback. Price just flew after London opened into New York, so no entry there at all. US dollar CAD, perhaps much of the same as price looked to push towards those highs, as I said. No break of structure, not even via aggressive route. GU, I don't know what that's doing on there. Absolutely no positions were taken on GU today for sure. Potentially just a little bit of a test this morning to see if price would respect that. Would I be looking to take an Asia range? It was to be considered, to be honest, but again, is this current climate worth just a simple 1 minute break of structure to take price in the opposing direction? I don't believe so unless it's incredibly clear. What I would love to have taken is a long position from down to these lows. Here you can definitely see price has made that move from these session lows. So if price would like to return, then absolutely I'll be having that inclination to take that long position. But as I said, no positions were taken today, unfortunately. And then with that said, absolutely no entry criteria here as price is just absolutely crushed through that 15-minute order block that we can look to remove now and save us doing that in the morning. So that's GU, nothing at the moment. However, what I will do is place an alert up at these highs to see if tomorrow morning we can have that push into that higher time frame point of interest before looking for a potential short on GU, which would mean DXY strength coming into the market. So let's see if the DXY will continue to push higher. But with that said, the only way I feel that the DXY will push higher if we get that move to the downside sooner rather than later, reject that daily 50 MA and then push back up to the weekly. I don't really foresee that we're going to start pushing too high into that weekly 50 MA to give us that DXY strength. that will indeed then give us that weakness coming out of the pound. So we're gonna, in my opinion, we're gonna have to need to see the DXY roll to the downside before we can get that almighty long pressure coming out of the market, perhaps retest that lows of the range, and we'll see how it goes. So very conflicting over the markets. Of course, higher time frame on the DXY. We're in that higher time frame weekly order block looking to go short, reject that weekly 50 MA, but unfortunately it looks like the fundamentals are taking precedence over the market at the moment, as what we're really seeing throughout the start of the year, to be honest, as a result of the war that's going on overseas. That's kind of the play at the moment. Kind of technicals is taking a bit of a backward seat compared to the compared to the fundamentals, which in my opinion, as always, for the last, let's say, 7 to 8 years of trading at this level, it's never been in this direction. Even with COVID, it was very clearly technicals over fundamentals, of course, when certain companies were bringing certain things out that were on certain markets. And of course, we were getting those moves based on fundamentals against obviously currencies that were taking a hit. Nevertheless, these are definitely new territories, so definitely stick to your risk management going forward, everyone. It will definitely serve you in the long run. So that's pretty much a bit of the breakdown. Nothing at all. Again, a little position just by illustration, but nothing taken here on AUD US dollar. It would have been a position that I would have liked to have taken perhaps tomorrow, but we'll just have to have a look to see what shapes up tomorrow morning in terms of price action. But so long as we don't break below that 4-hour 50 MA, I'm very reluctant to look for short positions into it. Opposing that, if we're up at these highs, then absolutely I'll look to short down to it based on the fact that we're in that higher time frame weekly order block, and I absolutely would like to take a short position. So we just have to see how the cookie crumbles. Let's hope to get a close below that 4-hour 50 MA, even better, a closure below that daily 50 MA. And then if I zoom out to that daily time frame and give you a bit of illustration of what that would look like, of course, we've got this bullish structure here. If we can then have that break below, solidifying that, of course, now we are looking to go short. That would be the learner market, be looking for that lower high before that lower low continuation. That's exactly what I need to see, to be quite honest, to take that with a lot of confidence. Failing to take that type of position, then of course I'll be having to wait for price to come up to these highs to take a much riskier short position as a result of price on the lower, well, on all time frames, printing bullish into that area. So it would be an aggressive short to take that immediately. Of course, best case scenario, wait for a break, pullback, imbalance, and then look for the short. So I won't keep you too long, team. That's pretty much the rundown of my day. Nothing at all taken on the markets. I believe potentially it could be a decent week. We'll just have to see, as I say, how the cookie crumbles. Until tomorrow morning, everyone, take care. Good evening to you all, and all the very best. Charles.